Hello. Welcome back to the Lifelong Guitarist podcast. I'm your host, Andre Flood. And please also subscribe to the Lifelong Guitarist Newsletter, also linked below. The scariest thing for every guitar player, well, almost every guitar player on the planet, is exactly the same. We've all been there several times. We go to someone's house, they have a guitar in the basement, or we pass by a guitar center when we're leaving work with our friends and someone says, "Hey, you play guitar, let's go check out some stuff, play us something." They say it at a party or you walk in with your friends, look at guitars and they say, "Play us something." And at that moment, as guitar players, we often freeze, panic. And as a fellow guitar player, I understand. What you want to say to your friends or significant other at that time is, well, I play guitar, but I'm working on some stuff. So like I don't have anything ready. Like you would like to say, I'm gonna have stuff to play for you soon, but right now I'm just working on technique. Or I'm just working on chords, or I'm just working on my pentatonic scale licks, whatever the just working on is. The funny thing is, the I'm just working on is almost never songs. Isn't that the funny thing about the whole about guitar players? Um, this is an episode that is not just inspired by what I see a lot, it's also inspired by what I've been through a lot and what I'm still going through to some degree, although I'm rectifying that now in a really big way. As guitar players, it's extremely tempting to go down the rabbit hole of either theory or fretboard navigation or pure improvisation or technique, whatever the case may be. The guitar opens up such a wide, vast array of things we can explore that are completely disconnected from music in a way that I don't really see with other instrumentalists. I'll give you an example here. If you're a drummer, you can get stuck down some very complicated, drum synchronization technique that is eating up all of your time. But at the end of the day, as a drummer, if you ever walk by a drum set and someone says, "Play me something," you can always play boom, boom, tss, boom, boom, tss, boom, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, ding. You can play a simple groove, maybe throw in some of your fancy stuff in the groove and then end it with a little fill. Every drummer can do it, no matter what level you are, and they can do it at any time. And I think that's because the way that you think about the drums, it's built in to have grooves. As much as you want to work on simple techniques, not simple, as much as you want to work on technique as a main driver for the drums, the technique will always be based on a groove. Even if it's a complicated 7 pattern or 9 pattern, that 9 pattern is inherently a groove. And the process of becoming good at it is getting good at that particular groove. You see, we don't have that with guitar. Because the process of getting better at a technique isn't inherently musical. It isn't inherently a song or a groove or something that could theoretically stand alone. And the more advanced we get with guitar, the more we tend to gravitate towards those little unique things. And I want to encourage you to always do that because, number one, if it's making you happy, you should explore it more. But it's really important that we start to explore our weird idiosyncrasies in relation to music. And I'll give you some reasons why that's so crucially important. It's not just so that we can play music for other people. It's actually because when we explore things within music or give our rabbit holes a musical outlet, then we have a very honest truthful way of assessing what we've done. And also we have a way of expressing that idea. And it stops us from getting stuck, from jumping from rabbit hole to rabbit hole to rabbit hole. I'll give you an exact example of what this looks like. By the way, a quick thank you to everyone who signed up for the Lifelong Guitarist program recently. We are completely sold out. In fact, I took more students than intended, but at the same time, at my university job, it's the summer semester, so there's less work there, and I figure we have a bit more space to work with more people. And I'm so honored that so many of you want to work together to improve your guitar playing together. So, of course, if you're interested, you can find the waitlist link below. The next group is going to be around mid or late July. And if you're on the wait list, you'll be notified before anybody else. Again, this time it sold out in about 3 days. Last time I sold out in about 2 days. So 2 to 3 days is generally how fast these things go. So join the wait list if you're interested. So I'll use something that I got stuck in last year. I got stuck in this idea of developing what I call keystone licks. Well, I have a whole different episode on that, and I'm going to be showing this a lot more soon. I'm currently writing a bunch of materials, so I'm a little bit all over the place. But the simple idea of keystone licks, I'm pretty sure this is my original idea, is that behind all of the rock vocabulary, the blues vocabulary, the jazz vocabulary on guitar, the fusion vocabulary, behind all of these things, there are a handful of licks per genre. And those licks essentially spin off to create everything else. It's almost like if you were to make pasta, be it spaghetti, macaroni, ravioli, linguine, doesn't really matter what pasta it is. Whatever pasta you make, it's going to start with boiling water, cooking the pasta. And then you might take that pasta and add a red sauce, you might add a cheese sauce, you might add a basil pesto sauce. But what you're really doing is just manipulating the base of pasta. And there's a handful of styles of pasta. You have like long pasta, like a spaghetti or an angel hair or a linguine. You have like macaroni or shells or ziti. You have stuffed pastas. But what I'm trying to get across here is that angel hair, spaghetti, thin spaghetti, linguine, these are all variation of a long pasta. And so we have these keystone licks in every genre, and then there's like a bunch of related licks that are just manipulations of that main thing. And I have a theory that if you are able to find these keystone licks in a genre of music, I believe there's probably 5 to 10 at the absolute most. If you can find those keystone licks, you will be able to unlock an entire genre of music extremely fast. Because you would find the lick, you would work on it and its little variations, and then you have a giant chunk of vocabulary. You have 1/5 or 1/10 of an entire genre's vocabulary. And I know the idea of 10 licks seems like a lot, but keep in mind that most of the books you buy are 50 licks or 101 licks. And now I'm telling you, you can do this whole genre in 5 to 10 licks if you have this keystone lick philosophy and principle. And so I started going down this rabbit hole of finding and synthesizing and organizing these keystone licks. I did this for months. And I tricked myself into thinking that if I just found these ideas and I systematized them, I would be able to play music. But of course I couldn't. I couldn't use any of these licks. I could play them by themselves and connect them to stuff, but none of it sounded like it was all building blocks, is what I'm saying. And the reason it was all building blocks and not music is because it was never connected to music. It was connected to this idea. Now, what would be the better way to go down that process I just told you about? Well, the better way would be to find let's say I find a keystone minor lick and I find a keystone major lick. I just have these two now. Rather than trying to just now find the other 10 licks or whatever and trying to master them all over the fretboard, the better way to go about progress would be to take those licks, find a song that has a major chord or a minor chord, learn that song, learn the chords, learn the melody, and then apply those licks to the song and see what you come up with and see what happens. I know it seems like that wouldn't be such a big deal. It seems like that is kind of the inefficient way to go about things, right? Because you think to yourself, well, if I just learn all the licks in isolation, and I'm saying licks, but this applies to techniques as well. We'll get to a technique example soon. If I just learn all the licks in isolation, then I have all the Lego pieces and I can build whatever I want whenever I want. But see, collecting Legos is one skill. Going to all the thrift stores and finding the rare Legos. That's like going to the record store and finding these rare albums that you can find these rare licks on, right? Or these rare books that are no longer published. That's finding the rare Legos. And analyzing them and organizing them into your Lego buckets. That's one skill. But having the skill of an artist to take those Legos and make something beautiful, that's an entirely different skill. An entirely different skill. And what happens to guitar players is that we'll find all of these rare Legos from thrift stores and yada yada, and we'll put them in these special buckets. And we'll clean up the buckets and organize them, and everything's shiny and organized in these buckets. But then when we go to play, we're looking around, trying to grab stuff. Well, I believe that bucket was over there, or maybe it's the second bucket from the right or from the left, and I have to dig through this pile of stuff to find the thing, you see, because we organized everything and we put it in places, but we never practiced grabbing it and making stuff. And remember that music is a race in a way. Like music is not a race in the sense that you need to play fast, but music is a race in the sense that it moves through time. So when you play a song, even a slow song, someone starts a timer and you have to get to it. There has to be a speed element because it happens through time. It's not frozen. So how do you get good at finding bucket 27 and digging through to find the Lego, the lick? How do you get good at that? Because you have to do that through time in a song. You don't get good at it by practicing organizing and putting it in different places. You get good at it by starting the timer, running to the box, and starting to make stuff. In other words, the only way we're going to get good at connecting these licks into beautiful music, solos, improvisation, is if while we're learning the licks, we practice doing that very thing. I'll give you another trap that you've been down, that I've been down, that I'm still going down on a daily basis, is that we think to ourselves, okay, well, first I will find all the licks and organize all the licks. That's what I'll do first. And then I'll apply them all to music. I guess theoretically that's possible. But I'll tell you the truth, it never works. And it never works because there are endless licks to find and to master. And either we get burned out from searching for them and then we never ended up playing them through music and then we never played them again. We get burned out from that. Or we just keep searching and never find an end to it. And we always feel like we're right around the corner from finding that solution to what we're doing. So when your friend says, play me something, you want to say, oh, I'll be able to play you something soon, but right now I'm not there. It's because that's what we do. I've been talking about licks, but we can do this with techniques as well, right? So you take this fancy economy picking thing. It's this special way of economy picking that connects the D string to the high E string and then allows you to slide up and sweep a descending line. Just made that up, but it's a thing. And it's one little thing in isolation. Again, it's one little Lego piece. And so guitar players will find that little technique thing, we'll work on it for a long time, we'll polish it up. And then we'll have nothing to play, we'll have nothing to do with it. We have no music to play it with. We have no way to express that thing that we just learned. I won't explain this as long as I explained the last example, because I think you probably got the point by now, of course. But if we were to use this as a technique example, I think one great thing would be to take that technique you're working on and to immediately apply it to a song that you wanted to learn sometime. And if you don't have any songs you want to learn, I highly recommend you find some songs. Again, I like to encourage everyone to explore music the way they want to explore it. If you're someone who literally never wants to play songs and you just want to develop techniques and licks, I'm not telling you not to do that. If that makes you happy, fantastic. You're not hurting anybody. But if you're the guitar player who actually feels a little bit insecure because you can't play any music, then you're who I'm talking to, and this is how you go about it. So you might find that little unique economy to descending sweep technique you figured out. Maybe you apply it to a major scale, and then you learn any song that's major and you just try it in the song. Put on a backing track, try that one thing over and over and over. And then you'll have a good idea of how to actually use that in the real world. So that might be technique A. Then you learn your new other fancy technique B. Do the same thing. And then you put on your song and work on connecting technique A to technique B, or lick A to lick B. And the first time you do this, what you realize is that, oh my God, this is a whole different skill. Connecting ideas, be it licks or techniques, whatever it is, connecting them in real time to make music is an entirely different skill. And if that's the skill that you want to have, that's the one we need to spend the most time doing. I often see certain guitar players who play original songs. They tend to be the best at this because whenever they learn a technique, they're learning it to make a song. And then they have a song they can play with that technique, and they seem like they're this genius player. And this is actually a fun thought experiment. I did this the other day with myself. There's this guitar player named Ando-san. He kind of mixes thump. So he mixes Tosinabasi techniques like thumping and selective picking with like hip hop grooves and also metal stuff like progressive metal. It's very, very unique sound that he has. And so you'll see him doing this intricate guitar work and rapping over top of it or singing over top of it. And, sometimes I'll see guitar players who are so talented and so amazing that I think I revert back to being 15-year-old Andre, who didn't really understand how music works for the most part. I'm still learning how music works, to be honest. But I revert back to that teenage Andre, and I think to myself, wow, if he could do this, I bet he can also do all of these other things. Because in my mind, I think about how most guitar players learn stuff, which is going down these rabbit holes and then eventually putting it to music. So if you follow the thought process, the thought is that, well, if he went down that whole rabbit hole and came up with this and then created music, he probably has so many different things he can do. And I'm not saying he doesn't have a lot of things he can do. He probably does, obviously. But his form of development was probably more like figure out this technique, get good at this technique, write a song with it, write another song with it, write another song with it. And so what you end up seeing, what we end up seeing as an audience is maybe 5 or 6 beautiful songs with all types of intricate technique. but the whole time the artist is working on it as a song instead of just as a technique. See, if he had only went down the technique rabbit hole when he was working on that stuff, all he would have is the techniques in isolation instead of music. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So songwriters tend to be much better at this than us, whatever the rest of us are. They tend to be better at this than us, but we can learn from them, and we should learn from them. So I'm going to be talking about this stuff and showing it a lot more on the channel, but I just thought we can start here. We can start by just reminding ourselves and remembering that music is music. Music is not a technique. Music is not an arpeggio. Music is not a lick. Music is not a chord progression. Music is music. And until we apply those things that we love to learn and explore in the theory, it's all beautiful, it's so exciting. Until we connect that to music, we're not playing music. And again, I'll just conclude by saying this. If your goal is not to play music, that is 100% totally fine. If you buy guitars to learn technique and to play licks, you are not hurting anybody. You're not hurting anybody. I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm glad that makes you happy. There's nothing wrong with that. Keep doing it. Ignore what I'm saying. But again, I'm speaking to the guitar players like myself at times who feel insecure because they have no music to play. So my personal approach to solving this for me is learning a lot of fingerstyle solo guitar arrangements. And right now I'm really working on connecting those arrangements into playing improvised songs or improvising within that song. So for example, you might play My Funny Valentine. And then after playing your arrangement, you might improvise over top of it. Right. Simple idea. But that's one way I'm kind of forcing myself to break out of this 20 plus year habit that I've been in. Because whenever I make these podcasts, I'm not calling you out as much as I'm calling myself out, because I know I do it, and I know a lot of us do it as well. So again, one thing that I'm forcing myself to do that you might also consider is, as soon as you learn a lick or a concept, immediately apply it to a song, immediately learn a song. And it's going to take some discipline. But just because it feels difficult doesn't mean it's wrong.